So yeah, so I was listening to the new album this morning. Bushido Code is the name of the band.
Right.
Ronin is the name of the album, and I believe
Yeah, the Ronin. Yeah.
the Ronin,
Yeah.
and I believe it's dropping next month,
Yeah, on the 16th
April
of April. Yeah.
16th. Okay, yeah, it was interesting. So, how did you guys happen to choose the name for the band?
Well, actually, it's cool. Derek, the guitarist, this was kind of like his project. It was his idea initially, and we've been best friends forever. I mean, we all been playing in bands together for a long time throughout, the last 15 years, 20 years almost. And he always loved that movie, Shogun Assassin,
Okay,
and always, yeah, always said that if he ever did a band, he was like going to totally call it Bushido Code. He like loved the whole samurai idea, and what he wanted to do with it was, bring back like that traditional thrash metal, um, idea in it. And when he sold it to me, I was like in. I was like, oh, we're gonna go back to some crap that we listened to when we were kids. We're
sure,
gonna be totally into it.
sure. Yeah,
So
it was interesting because I could, there weren't specific influences. Like I couldn't recognize influences from bands, but it was more just that whole style. Like
right,
I could recognize that sort of crossover. There were certain bands came to mind who I admire. Like Municipal Waste was up there, and just
yeah, for
you know,
sure, definitely.
but uh, but
I
yeah, it
think
was
Derek uses the term hybrid metal because
gotcha.
that's really kind of what it is.
Yeah,
It's like a mix of, because we all been playing in hardcore bands and metalcore bands like our entire careers. So it was like, Derek was always super, super into like thrash metal. And really that's where I started my musical career and playing in a death metal band and like loving that kind of music. So it was like kind of funny because when we wrote the first song, I was like, man, we're really going to go backwards. I felt like we were going back to when we were 15 again, you know. But when after we put all the pieces together and kind of like made it, the first couple songs, you really started seeing, okay, wait, this is something a little bit different. It's not typical thrash metal and it's not hardcore at all, but it's a little bit of both. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Well, I think he's right in suggesting that it's more of a hybrid because it
right.
it sounded, like you said, it was a combination of those elements put together. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it really worked well. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna now go back. This will be my first time listening to I listened to the new album, so now it'll be nice
Right.
to go back and sort of see where this arrived from, how you guys.
Well, yeah, because like when we did a Dying Virtues, it was like the idea was starting to be built. I mean, the idea was really there before we really finalized our sound, and in those two EPs, we really kind of created the sound, but the story, the idea was there the entire time. I was like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna go all the way with it, and this whole idea of this Daishi character and this, you know, taking the old elements of like bands like Iron Maiden and Megadeth and those stories that they always told, those every time you picked up an album like Rust in Peace or The Trooper or any of those cool records, those stories that were involved in them, which was, yeah, as a lyricist, is my favorite part of those records. You know what I mean? So it was that was there, but it was funny because when we recorded the new record, we actually recorded two songs that were on the Dying Virtues 1 and 2. Um, and I was really kind of against the idea at first. I was like, why are we going, why are we re-recording it? But the band was just adamant. They were like, yo, we got to record these songs. They were just never satisfied with the recording. It just wasn't what the songs, it's just is not how the songs are supposed to sound. And I'm really glad we did, because now when I go back and listen to those old songs, and you'll hear it when you listen to the new album and listen, they aren't really the same songs at all. They're like really very different. They're played exactly the same, but the lyrics are a little bit, the vocals are a little bit different on it, but the overall sound it's more, this new record is more of our sound. We've kind
Gotcha.
of found it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it takes a little while sometimes to find your sound, but I'm glad that you went into this album having found everything, and you could sort of take off with both feet running, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely hitting the ground running on this one. And
Yeah,
then, we were actually talking about that the other day. It's like, somebody asked us, it's like, hey, how long can you think you can keep this story going? This whole thing. I was like, man, this thing will go on forever. It could just go on forever and ever and ever. Because it's not really about this whole samurai thing. It's about looking ourselves in the mirror as a society. Really, if you break down the lyrics and really think about it and like see what we're talking about, it's the typical lyrics that you listen to when you were a 15-year-old kid, listen to thrash metal or punk rock music. It's all the same thing. It just has this unique storyline to this almost fictional anthology to follow along with it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those are, I certainly have a place in my heart for, anthem type songs.
Right.
Just sort of, but I also like the storytelling quality, like you said, like with Iron Maiden, they were really good at being able to tell a tale. And it'll be cool to sort of go back now that I know that that's what's, happening on this album. It'll be interesting to revisit it knowing that there's much more going on.
That's what was my hope when I wrote because when you don't write, I wasn't writing a lot of the music for this record, and like in other bands I helped write a lot of the music, but in this record, it's like with Bushido, because I live in North Carolina and the guys live in PA, and they're not even the same side of PA. They're like 2 or 3 hours away from each other. I was like, what made Bushido work was that everybody kind of had a job. Everybody kind of did their job. Like Derek might come up with the basic idea of the song, but we would all put our 2 cents in. My job was to create the storyline. So I really dug into it and had a lot of fun. Pressed myself really hard to write it, but it turned out to be just super fun. And I think people will dig it if they just dig in enough. I think they'll find it and be cool. It'd be something interesting for them. Very nerdy, but cool.
No. But I mean, that's the beauty of the whole. I mean, I think what's great is sort of seeing how much joy you've had in this whole process. I can tell how excited you are for people to hear the songs and begin to peel back the layers.
Right.
And understand that there's more going on within the themes of the song. But that's
the real key there. There's so much more to dig into. It's like, not only do you get an album that sonically sounds great, and we're really proud of it, but it's not, that's what I guess, if you think about it, if you go back to think about the albums that you loved as a kid, and the albums that really kind of changed your life, I guess that's every musician's goal. They're just trying to write that album that, their And Justice for All, or their, in my case, Earth Crisis, Gomorrah Seasons In. That album was like everything to me. But, you're just trying to write that album that kind of, or Practice What You Preach by Testament. Just any of those albums that kind of like shaped your life and kind of shaped how you looked at music. As a musician, I guess everybody's goal is just to write that one record. And the competition or the strife is to constantly be driving to writing that record, and you never really know that you write it until like 10 years after it's written, that has affected people. But sonically, we wrote an album that we were really proud of, but we wanted to, when I was a kid listening to albums like Testament's Practice What You Preach, when I heard the record the first time, I was like, this is amazing. I've never heard anything that sounds like this. But then when you started listening to songs like Greenhouse Effect and Practice What You Preach and reading the lyrics behind that stuff, I was like, wow, those guys are all about saving the environment and like, just all this really interesting stuff. And they kind of shaped who I was as a young man at that point in my life. So I guess just giving back to that is what kind of saved my life, really, on all honesty. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, well, I think the cool thing is, I think this album, like you said, sonically it'll draw people in because they'll want to listen to the music, and then hopefully they'll take the time to understand that there's more going on with the lyrics. That there's a story going on, but also there are a lot of deeper themes, and hopefully, maybe in a couple of years, there'll be another person doing a podcast with a musician who said that Bushido Code, I listened to them and they changed my life. So
yeah, I mean, that's the goal. If it's just one person, if it's and not even change their life, just change their projection or their path, or inspire them to write something great or anything like that. I mean, if you really think about it, I guess that's any musician's ultimate goal. Like, screw being a rock star. I mean, I stopped wanting to be a rock star when I realized I couldn't sing like, Sebastian Bach or something, like, there was no money in metal music. Well, when I started there was, I mean, to be real, but all that vanished over time. And if you weren't in the right place, the right time, doing the right thing with the right people, you were never getting in. But when I found punk rock and hardcore, it wasn't about that. It was about something very, very much bigger than that. And I fell head over heels in love with the music, the scene, and I dedicated my whole life to it. I don't have a regret about it, but you're not going to get rich doing this. But if you can inspire people, that's what it's really all about.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think even being on the other side of it as a fan, you're looking to connect with people who are going to be able to articulate what you're feeling.
Right.
Either, and the music is going to be great, so you're going to go to that, but you're also going to want to hear that they understand, that you're not alone out there. A lot of people, I think, feel like they just want to connect on something,
Right.
And I think that's, especially if that was the goal with this album, was to, I think it's refreshing to hear somebody talking about how the goal is to write something that will, touch someone, rather than just, oh yeah, no, I wanted to write about good times and make $1 million and all that stuff.
Right.
So,
Right. I mean, it's kind of fun when you sit back and you're writing an album lyrically. I mean, I know that Derek always had, and the guys always had a focus in mind of writing a cool musical. Musically, they wanted to be interesting.
but yeah, no, you were saying that the guys had an idea of a direction they wanted to go musically.
Right. And it was just, when we were able to add the layers and start layering it out, we started to see something that was a little bit different. And it gave us an opportunity to tell a fictional style story and keep with this cool imagery and this cool, this whole samurai background, of things, but we could also integrate real life scenarios with like things like, Stench of Cowards Rot was like this kind of idea of writing about our political system, but just in a kind of vile Cannibal Corpse style way. You know what I mean? It was just like this, using imagery to tell the story, more of an anthology, like I said before, but more of but using the perception of this masterless samurai who only lives off this code that doesn't exist anymore, and the violence behind that. If we had to look in the mirror at ourselves, a lot of us would probably lose our head. You know what I mean? So it was like that whole idea. So it's just kind of fun, and at the same time makes you stop and think for a second. I hope at least that was the intention.
Yeah, well, I think it's I think there will be a lot of people out there that are really excited to get into these songs, sonically, but also lyrically and thematically. So, I mean, I can tell you that I connected, even not knowing necessarily that there was more going on when I was listening to it this morning. I'm sort of eager to go back and dig in again now that I know that there's more going on. So I think that there's definitely going to be people who are excited to connect with these songs, and just sort of take the time, do the research, figure out that there's more going on than in most of the crossover thrash that I've listened to. Like especially like the Iron Reagan and Municipal Waste stuff is, it's more
great
about
bands, but
they are. Oh yeah, no, I love them, but like mostly like zombies or partying and having a good time.
That's pretty much the gist right there.
Yeah,
which is great.
It is. Oh no, it's great. But at the same point, it's nice to know that you're using the medium to talk about some other really important things.
We definitely took a more of a Metallica, like old school Metallica, Creeping Death, Master of Puppets, Ancestors for All, very Megadeth, Holy Wars kind of Rust in Peace style approach to the lyrics of this record, because I think that the coolest things about those records were that
sonically amazing. They were life changing for a lot of people. But man, there were really cool stories in there too. You know, there was really cool imagery stuck in there. You know what I mean? Especially on the Rest in Peace record. If you go back and listen to that record, it's pretty insane.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No,
You know, and then the Iron Maiden really were the pioneers of that. I mean, every record was about war, pretty much every song was about war, but they just did it in this way that was so cool. And bringing back the whole Eddie character in this Daishi character, that was always the funnest part to me for the Iron Maiden records, was just like you had this guy that you would follow from cover to cover and t-shirt to t-shirt, and we try to bring a little of that back too, you know. Not just a logo but an image.
Yeah, well, I think you've done, I mean, you have the samurai on the album cover, which I think is very cool and similar. I actually use for my podcast, I have Clint Eastwood from the Fistful of Dollars movie, but I've superimposed Eddie's face on it, so that's
incredible. That's awesome.
That's become my like the character that I'm kind of using the same idea of having a mascot that'll represent the show, but
right.
I think you're
sorry. That was
yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, my daughter was just trying to call me.
No, it's yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good. This is part of the interview.
Part of the thing. Life happening around us.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. This is what I think sometimes when they have those behind the music shows where they're talking about bands, it's like, this is some of the stuff they should show. You know, like, this is what life is
right.
like. You know, the power goes out sometimes.
Yeah, like
something. You know, it's not all like partying at the Ritz and playing sold out shit. Like, there's
it's not.
But so you're in North Carolina?
Yes, yeah, I live in North Carolina on the coast. Yeah.
Okay, and you said the guys are
and the rest of the guys
are
in Erie, PA, and Wilkes-Barre, PA. So it's like Eastern Pennsylvania and Central Pennsylvania.
Gotcha. So have you been able to?
Well, no, it'd be Western PA, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Have you? I mean, obviously you've been able to finish the album ahead of time, but have you been able to meet up, practice, or do anything like that, or is it mostly just staying in touch?
Oh yeah. Well, we haven't had a lot of time to practice. We did, prior to the record, we do a lot of stuff on the internet. We do a lot of writing and stuff like that via internet. But we just shot the video for the record, which will be coming out real soon. We spent a very cold weekend doing that, and that was a lot of fun. But we're super excited. It's like, like a real budget video. It looks, we can't wait to show everybody. It's going to be really good.
Cool.
But yeah, other than that.
No, I was going to say, so the album will be out on the 16th of April, and the video will be out before then or after then or around the
Yeah. I think the video is actually going to be out in a couple of weeks. I don't have my calendar in front of me.
Yeah. And the lights, yay!
The lights.
No, I was just saying, with regard to people having something to look forward to, the album will be out in April.
Yeah, we actually have
Go on, I'm sorry.
Right. So we actually have it set up. Yeah, we actually have it set up great. Well, Mario has it set up great from Upstate Records. He has it set up pretty good. So we're going to release the first single this Friday. That'll be coming out, and then we're going to be releasing the video after that for the song Aftermath, and then we'll release that single after it comes out, and then I think we're going to release one more single after that for record drop. So it gives everybody a little bit of a tease before we get into it, and then they have the record, and we're going to have some packages available for it, and we got some news coming up about touring. So once the world opens back up, we got some really good news about that.
That's great.
We are really excited about it.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to know that there's going to be stuff going on that people can that there's going to be singles coming out. There's a video, the album will be out, and then there'll be touring news. I think everyone is still sort of chomping at the bit for a chance to get back to live shows. So that'll be.
Yeah, we're ready for it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, with Upstate doing this deal with Blood Blast distribution and stuff, you know, you got to kind of follow this cool guideline, but it's actually really nice. It doesn't let you kind of throw everything out there real quick, and then it's all like, okay, it's all out there, and then, you know, kind of like you know, like burning, you know, burning a fire with all the leaves on top of it. It just burns real quick and it doesn't really stay on fire,
sure.
you know. So,
Yeah.
so we're
Well,
kind of like
this will
hoping.
be, I mean, it'll be great. I think it'll be good having, you know, sort of a bit at a time for people to get interested, and then the album will come out, the video will be out, there'll be touring information. So yeah, no, it sounds like the best way to do it. But
Yeah, I mean it's frustrating sometimes because, you know, everybody wants to be like, oh, we got to get this thing out like now, it's got to happen. And but you know, being forced to kind of slow it down a little bit. Even now it still seems like it's going so fast because
sure.
you know, they, you know, just go with the, you know, you got to do the press stuff like what we're doing now and stuff like that, which you know, has been really cool. Like I've enjoyed it. I've never really gone this in depth into it, but people are really asking a lot of cool questions. Like you guys are asking great questions, and I think people are really generally interested in what we got going on. So you know, I love taking the time to actually have a voice in it and say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. If you're interested, you know, nerd out, check it out.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a writer myself, so when you had mentioned that there was sort of a story going on with the lyrics, that really, you know, caught my attention. So I'm going to have to go back and really analyze, you know, what's happening. But
Well,
but
you
I think,
definitely have to hit me back and let me know what you think, man,
oh,
because that's like the
absolutely.
stuff that really
I
pumps me up,
I
you know.
think there'll be a lot of people that are similar. Um, you know, once they realize that there's more going on, sort of within the lyrics or within the themes or subject matter, I think they'll recognize that they really need to take the time to digest this record.
Yeah, that's what that's you know, in all honesty, that's the full intention of it.
Sure.
Was, you know, it's like one of those things you want to like show people initially, and then it's like they kind of walk away and then back up and go, wait, what was that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
hold up, there's something bigger here, you know. And that's, you know, when you write the way we wrote on this record, where everybody, like I said, has kind of a job, you know, you really get to dig into what you do. You know, I've been writing and singing in bands since I was 15 years old. But in this band, I get an opportunity to do something I haven't done before. Was, you know, here's free reign, create a universe, if you will. But what would you say if you had an opportunity to say something? What would you say? Would it just be? I mean, there's a ton of great bands out there that I've loved. I think one really comes to mind is a lot of people might not listen to them, but Clutch is a phenomenal band. And as much as I love Neil and his lyrics and his singing, sometimes it's like, what is this guy talking about? And I was like, here's this great band, and they got all this stuff that they're writing about, but are they really saying anything? And then when you dig in there a little bit more, you start kind of piecing together what he's talking about. Right. And as a musician, you always love bands. Like people always, me and my wife were talking about this today. He's like, do you like the Deftones? I love the Deftones. And she's like, you know, I don't know if I like the Deftones. And I was like, well, every musician likes the Deftones. And she's like, I don't get it. It's like, well, like, just like every musician likes Tool. She's like, oh, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just one of those things. It's like those guys are sonically amazing, lyrically amazing, but sometimes just right over top people's heads. You know what I mean?
Well, it'll be, yeah. I mean, I'm sort of excited. This is one of those records I think I can sort of push on people and say, listen to this. You'll dig the music, but you know, take some time, listen to the lyrics. You know, print them out, read them, and really you'll get the sort of the full package of what's happening.
Right, right. I mean, that's what we're hoping for, at least,
yeah.
Man. It's going to be pretty cool. I think.
Yeah. Well, and I'm hoping that, you know, people will listen to this episode or watch the video and they'll, you know, seek out the music because they'll just want to listen to good jams, but they also want, you know, to investigate the story and see how it all pieces together.
That's what we're hoping for, knocking on wood.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Well, was there anything else? I know the album comes out next month. There's touring information at some point. The singles will be released.
Only thing I think we'd like to add is that, these days, as ridiculous as it is, you gotta, with the social media the way it is, it's really based on followers. So if people want to go to Bushido Code Metal on Instagram and give us a like and a follow, we'd really appreciate it. And tell your friends about it. That's all we can ask for these days. Is just, so we just want we want to hear from people, and we want to make new friends and share what we got to the world, man. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. So I know there's a lot of metal kids out there, so
and hopefully we'll make some, we'll make a few more converts.
That's the idea. Hopefully hopefully we'll suck them all in.
Well, and I think people will follow you guys on Instagram. I think you have a Facebook page, but
we have all the social media. I think we even have a Twitter. And it's funny because I don't know how to do any of that stuff. It drives my wife nuts. But we have a guy in the band that kind of handles all that stuff. But I love getting messages from people and like, we dealt directly, man.
I'll when I do a bumper for this, I'll suggest that people go and find the band on social media and reach out to you guys with questions, because that's half the fun is interacting with fans.
Absolutely. So, and this song that you're going to play today is, in my opinion, I think is the strongest song on the record.
All right.
It's just the harvest is just, it's actually really cool. If you don't mind me.
No, go. By all means.
It's kind of a homage to like old 80s horror movies. There's like a line in the movie, and I'm going to keep it a secret so you can so that everybody can find it. But there's a line in the song that's from a movie, a horror movie. That was kind of the basis behind the song. And it's this idea of, reflecting, the evil in man, and no matter how much you try to root it out, it is always going to grow. Evil is always going to grow within men and women and life in general. So it was like this thing, but there's a little horror reference in there I put in there. I think that true like horror fans will dig. So
sounds good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to sniffing it out, because that's but movies are one of my specialties. So.
It's a classic. It's definitely a classic.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. And
no problem, man. We had a blast, and thanks a lot for everything you're doing, man.
Oh, of course. Out there and good luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you got it. Take care.
All right, man. Later.